Morning, how are you? My Guardian Workshop. Uh, First off, I wanted to give a shout out to my cousin and his family over at Living the Dream Homestead. I sent him a Mjolnir amulet, and he was nice enough to kind of show it to you. And I just wanted to say thanks for that, Jeremy. Appreciate it. And hope you liked it. Seems like you do, so that's a good thing. And so go over and see him. One thing about Jeremy that's always been pretty awesome is he doesn't really put on airs. If he makes a mistake, he's the first one to say it. And of course, we're all supposed to be learning in this world, so when you don't have all the answers and you don't have all the money on the planet, excuse me, you do with what you got as best you can, and we all make mistakes. I make lots of them every day, and the big one is when you're making your mistakes, if you're smart enough to see it was one and try not to repeat it. That's kind of the biggest game to that whole deal. Some people, they just go through life making mistakes without a thought in the world as to even they had one, which, to each their own, I guess. Today's short little, well, I don't know if it's going to be short, but something I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit is I know I kind of bash on religion a little bit, and I thought I needed to really kind of give a little bit of an explanation. I've already tried to say that, as far as people go, whether it's religion, whether it is whatever it is, that if you've got a consciousness big enough to understand the world is bigger than yourself, and you're trying to become a better person, not that I'm the king of anything, but I think that's a good thing if you're trying to search, if you don't know how to be a better person. Really, for me, that's the key of it. I know great people that are both, religious, that are not religious. Now, for me, religion and faith are two completely different things, and a lot of people get that messed up. But the biggest thing I wanted to say about it, because I do tend to bring it up sometimes, and mostly because I have some animosities. And this is why. If you're going to say that you're Christian, or if you're going to say that you're Muslim, or whatever the hell it is that you decide that you think you are, be true to that. And this is what I mean by that. If you say that you're a follower of something, make sure you understand what that is before you go spewing it around. And this is what I mean. And I'm also not going to, like I said, I'm not the daddy to everybody. I'm not the king of the world. I don't pretend to be. But this is part of my reasoning. If you say you're Christian, and you understand your Christianity, and you are a shitty ass person, you don't understand your God very well. Whether that be Muslim, whether that be whatever. You know, it really doesn't matter. Here's my biggest part of my point. Pastors, the religion in general, they're all based on tithes. They want you paying. And if you look back far enough and hard enough, the word tithes is tax. Okay? And I'm not saying some churches don't do some good with it, with that money that they're pulling in. And, you know, a lot of them do better than others. But hey, you're there for the show, right? So you got to pay for the show. We're getting back to the point here. If you say you're Christian, if you say you're Muslim, if you say whatever the hell you are, and you are a killer, you are a terrible person as soon as you put the keys in the ignition and turn it on. You drive like an asshole. You constantly flip people off when they weren't in the wrong. You cuss like a sailor. You you prepare yourself with guns and killing and bullets and all these terrible things. That's not following your word of God. If you're following something that makes you do or says it's okay that you constantly sin or constantly do wrong, but it's okay as long as you come back and pay your tithes, you're all forgiven. That's not knowing your God very well either, is it? Being a selfish piece of shit is not knowing your God very well either, is it? Really, the biggest reason for all of the religions is societal control. You have to have something. The big thinkers from long ago trying to figure out how to get a societal control to make a bigger, better world. I truly believe that's the biggest reason for it, is to try and come out of the terribleness, depending on who you are and where you are, of being a better person, having a better society. However, this is the part that I was trying to get at. Be true to yourself. Now, what I mean by that is you love guns, you like to go shooting, you like to go killing shit, animals. I'm not talking about people. That part's always kind of been more of a politics and a bigger leadership push, for lack of better terms, by somebody else that's greedy as shit and wants more and has the power to sit down somewhere and say, oh, God talked to me. God says it's okay for me to go take somebody else's shit. Whichever God that is, whoever's God that is, that's wrong. And if you're too stupid to see that's wrong, I guess I don't understand. I really don't. I've never understood how societies understand that, other than there's a greater human power saying it's okay, go do it. It makes zero sense to me. So really, I'm just saying, be true to yourself. That's it. And if you want to be a miserable piece of shit, then be that. Don't, head back to church on Sunday and think it's all forgiven. Because here's the biggest thing with all that, and I don't understand why people don't get this. Supposedly, Jesus died for your sins, so the world's all good. Bullshit. This is why. And I've heard so many ministers and so many people talk about how they can excuse it. It just makes me sick. But I'm not going to say all, but let's just say the greater majority of these things, it's okay to be that way. Because as long as you pay your tithes and come back to church, all is forgiven. But why does everybody forget about judgment? Okay? Because in the majority of these religions, you're going to have a judgment. So not all is forgiven until you go to judgment. Period. And because some minister, some man says, no, that's okay, you're not reading it right. Bullshit. I know how to read. I've studied lots and lots and lots of different religions trying to find where I fit. And really I don't. And I've given up going on that. What I do is I try to take in all of them and glean in my mind what is the best pieces. Because really in all of it, that's what you're trying to find. You're trying to find how to be your best person and then grow on it. And like I said, I'm not trying to bash on just Christians or just Muslims or just, Catholics or any of that stuff. It just frustrates the shit out of me when people don't get it. You're still going to have your judgment. So just because this week you're a piece of shit and you go to your mass, your church, your whatever, and all is forgiven. It's not going to be forgiven because you're taking that power from him, whoever that is, away. Because some man said it was okay. And you know why he said it's okay? So that you come back. You get it? I'm not saying don't go back. The business of God has been big business, and truly, I believe, to be the first business. The first one. Some people say that prostitution was the first real job, whatever. I think it was really religion. That's the first game going, really. So, be true to yourself. I'm not saying don't go. I'm not saying don't try and learn how to be a better person, but try to understand it. And really, a lot of it goes back when men, and we're talking back in history now, you got women that, they go to church, they try to be better people, etc. And having trouble getting their men to go. Well, doesn't take long for a church to figure out, hey, guess what? If we make some of these things okay, then maybe they'll bring them in. And we'll just make something up that says, yeah, it's okay. You know, bring those men that are terrible people, and they'll still be welcome. I'm sure they'll be welcome, but you're forgetting judgment by him, not some man telling you that it's okay. Be a terrible person, and all your sins are forgiven. You know, and it just makes me crazy. Not very many see that. And truly, from my heart, whatever you can do to try and be a better person, if that's what you want to be, do it. Study it hard. But pay attention to that fine print, you know. Honestly, I'm not against any of it. I'm really not. You know, I'm just, I try to go as best as I can go. I do try to do the best I can for people and with people and so on, but it's a hard thing trying to balance out where you are and where you're going, because I still do wrong shit all the time and try to catch myself and try to be a better person with people that I surround myself with. But really, nobody's forgiven from shit until you're in the ground and you're standing before whoever it is that you're trying to get to. That's going to be your day to look back on your book of sin, of your book of terribleness that you're going to have to be called out on. And that's really pretty much all I wanted to say about that. It's just, I know I tend to bash on it sometimes, mostly because of those reasons. You know, just, I don't begrudge anybody for trying to find a better way of life or better way of being a better human being. That's absolutely the furthest thing from what I'm ever saying. It's just these sort of things that make me crazy, you know. I just don't see how it's possible that somebody that loves going out and killing things can sit there and say, I'm a man of God. Well, really, are you? Are you really? You don't think you're going to have to be judged on those things? And it ain't that man at the pew doing it. And I think that's the biggest piece of what people have forgot. You know, they think that they can interpret the word better than anybody else. Well, they put a lot of those words in there. And, you know, of course, you know, it's all said, oh, these men of God, all of them, you know, they've got God in them, so they don't write down terrible things. Bullshit. Look at it. Look at the things that have been, the terrible things that have been okayed in the eyes of God as to what you do in your day. You know, there is a lot of good things with it, there really is, but really, that's all I'm trying to say. Be true to yourself, you know. Try to do the best you can today. Let tomorrow be tomorrow, and hopefully the more often you do those good things, the easier it'll be, and hopefully you'll catch yourself more often. If you like doing whatever the hell it is you're doing, and it goes against what true word is, if there's such a thing, then you should know that it ain't right. The term And this one really gets me. Depending on how you interpret it, some people interpret it different than others, but warriors of God. Warriors of God. I really don't understand how anybody that is in a religion can say that with a straight face. Listen to the words. Warrior of God. If you can even say that and think of yourself that way, you don't know your God. That's one of the biggest contradictions of anything I've ever heard in my life. If you're going to be a warrior, then be a warrior and take your judgment on Judgment Day. But if you know your God, there's no such a thing. And only men make that kind of shit okay. Because it's not. It's right there in your own damn books. And this is the point I'm getting to. I'm not saying you can't be a crusader for God, if that's even a better term. I really don't think so. If you want to help spread your word and help bring people to your church so that the tithes go up and try and maybe save somebody so you feel better, don't do it for your church. Do it for yourself. Do it to try to help somebody just out of the kindness of your heart. You know, don't try to push them into your church. If you got words and you want to give them to somebody, then give them to somebody. That's the trick. Don't push them. Don't say, well, our church is the best church, you need to come see us, da-da-da-da-da. Just give them the word that may help them, and let them make their own choices as to where they're going to go get that from. And if they go somewhere they don't like, maybe eventually they'll end up back at that church that you were pushing to begin with. The business of God has been around a long time. And if you don't have people out there, salesmen, your church dies, because obviously it's just like a bank. You want to grow it, right? And a lot of that's has been forgotten. I'm not saying not do it. I'm not saying quit what you're doing right now and stop your faith. I'm just saying pay attention. You know, pay attention. And really, I didn't want to tear this out too long. It's probably too damn long now. But that I just wanted to give a little bit of explanation as to why I am the way I am and why I say the things I say. It's not because I'm a hater. There are some things I hate in this world, but somebody trying to find a way to be a better person is not what I'm trying to say at all. So, again, shout out to my cousin and his family over at Living the Dream Homestead. Keep after it. Get that garden going, Jeremy. Really, the rest of you, see it. Keep planting your seeds. If nothing else, it gets you out the door and gets you out in the sun and gets you doing something productive that you can harvest on your own and maybe take a little pride in the fact that when you're at the dinner table, there was a bigger hand that helped you put it there, and your hand that also helped gather it and share it with somebody if you can. So now I've heard people say I'm a pillar of this church. Isn't that something to say? To begin with, you must be a glass pillar. Because really, if you had to come up to somebody as you meet them, as they're coming in your building there, and you have to pride yourself to mention that to anybody, you're a glass pillar. Personally, maybe being a foundation stone is a better thing. Foundation stones are usually just a stone out of the field that you start with. Just an old stone, nothing special, nothing hewn by man, just a place to start. But there's lots of people out there that think they got God in their pocket, no matter which God it is, and they tend to have to prove to other people just how big they are there. Does that make sense to anybody? Does that make sense? Well, obviously it makes sense to the person that's so shallow that they got to mention it to begin with. And then as soon as they hit the parking lot, once services are over, and instantly act like an asshole, and they don't know their God very well either. These are the kind of things I'm talking about, and that make me sort of crazy. If you spend your week doing shady deals, stealing money, taking more off of somebody else because you're making money, you're a business owner that has shady practices, but it's okay because you're making money, and taking it off of somebody else when you didn't have to poke them so hard when you were stealing it out of their wallet. But come Sunday, you feel prideful that you're an upstanding member of your religion. These are the things I just don't understand. You know, and there's lots of them. Lots and lots of people that that act that way. And they think it's okay. And some of the ones that are standing around them think, hey, it's okay. That's awesome. You know, you're the king for showing how bad you just screwed somebody. Just makes me sick, really. Just a whole lot of it. And I just don't get it. I really don't. And I don't get it because I'm stupid. I don't get it because I've studied. I've tried to understand how humanity works, I guess. And that's where we get back to that whole justification thing. If you spend enough time looking for your justification, excuses as to why it's okay, you will find it. If you have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to justify it, it's probably fucking wrong. Okay? It's that simple. If in that first instant it's not right to begin with, making excuses or trying to find one why it's going to be okay while you did it is the point. Okay? It really is. That's the point. And maybe that's where narcissism is probably a blessing for a lot of people, because they don't fucking get it and ain't gonna. They just keep doing it because guess what? It don't matter in their mind anyway. You know, they're not doing anything wrong ever, so they don't have to justify it. They don't have to worry about it. They don't have to understand there's going to be a judgment for it. You know, really, everybody says how terrible a narcissist is. Really, I'm starting to wonder if everybody else is nuts, because, you know, really a true narcissist has a pretty good life, really, if you think about it, because they can go around shitting on people on a constant basis and it never even comes into their mind that they're doing a fucking thing wrong. So maybe the rest of us got it wrong and we all need to study how to be a narcissist. Ain't that a shitty thing to even talk about? Oh God. So alrighty. Yeah. I guess somebody needs to explain to me how it's okay to do shady shit because your God died for your sins. That's the big one to me, you know. If you're doing shady, underhanded things, if you're not following the rules of your own religion you're following, only man says it's okay to keep going. That's pretty plain and simple, and about all the books and teachings with religions in general. Only man makes the excuse as to why it's okay. If there's set rules as to how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be in your life that make sense, only man makes it okay to have an excuse to do something outside of those rules. But hey, if I'm not judging you, I'm really not. Some people are going to say that I'm being judgmental. I'm not. It's the truth. When you look at it, it's just the truth. If you do say shady things and still think it's okay, then do that. You know, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying these are the things that make me kind of crazy when there's pillars that can do shady things Monday through Saturday, but on Sunday, and that's a whole nother video that I'd like to get into sometime, but just in the short version of it, you're going to worship on a sun god day. Did you get that? Okay, just saying, that's a sun god day. So whether or not some man says it's Jesus's day, or who the hell ever, whoever, it doesn't matter. But if you're worshiping on Sunday, look it up. It's a sun god day. And it just, sorry, I find that funny. I can't be the only one that thinks of this shit. I can't be. But besides the point, keep justifying your shady dealings because you don't know your God. And don't pretend to spew it around to everybody else that you do, because you don't. Not if the reasoning, not if what you're actually doing. You'll get your judgment, you know. I'm not even going to sit here and say that that's what's going to happen, because I haven't got there yet. At some point I will. I won't be able to tell anybody about it, but hey, you know, some people have the answers to everything. The big point is, be true to yourself.